What's going through your mind? Your show's called Unleashed, but you're leashed like a dog to the Zionists and repeating all their propaganda as they slaughter 16,000
you talk absolute bollocks to use an English word.
You're spineless. I don't know how you sleep at night condoning this genocide. It's actually disgusting what they're saying. They lied about WMD in Iraq. They lied about Syria. They lied about Afghanistan. They lied about Libya. They lied about Ukraine. And now they're lying about what's happening to the people of Gaza. Israel initially said that 2,000 civilians died. Then they said it was 1,400. Then they said it was 1,200. Then they posted the names of those civilians on their own Twitter account, half of whom were military personnel. Now we're learning from Israeli media Haaretz that actually Israeli helicopters and tanks killed a lot of those civilians. So I don't think we'll ever really know how many civilians were killed on that day and by who until we get an actual investigation.
Jackson, how are you? How's the podcast going at the moment?
It's going well. You know, we're covering this genocide on Gaza extensively, and I think a lot of people are happy to see that, you know, someone in the media is willing to call balls and strikes and not regurgitate the propaganda about what's happening to the people in Gaza.
Okay. Give me your view on that, Jackson. I'd be interested to know, what is your view on what's going on in Gaza at the moment? Because obviously you're an American. I presume you're fairly pro the Israeli side.
Definitely not. I think we should be giving $0 to Israel, $0 to any foreign government for that matter. What's happening in Gaza is an abomination. You have 16,000 civilians that have been slaughtered by the Israelis, 6,000 children that have been killed.
How do you,
according to Hamas,
hang on, Jackson, how do you know this many? I'm always interested on both sides when they say, oh, so many. Somebody said there have been a lot of journalists murdered over there. And when I asked, perhaps you know the names of the people who've been murdered, or some of them.
Yeah, I mean, you just had a Palestinian man who lives in London on your show last week who had 23 plus members of his own family killed. So I think the facts are out there. We have countless videos.
We're only talking about hearsay here. We need to talk about facts.
These figures are from Hamas, who are the people that gang raped women and children. So you can't really take it. You've got to take it with a pinch of salt, what they tell you. They want the media to think.
If you believe that Hamas gang raped women and children, I also would imagine you believe there's no Nazis in Ukraine and that the COVID jab was safe and effective. But at the end of the day, we have
Jackson.
You got to let me finish.
No, I haven't got it. It's my show.
You got countless videos showing dead children.
You've got
countless videos showing dead children.
Videos showing. Some of them showing really made-up stuff, and you know that as well as I do. But let me ask you this. Why is everybody getting upset about what's happening in Gaza? And I'm upset. I think innocent...
It's not a genocide, is it? The population's gone up threefold in 20 years.
Why is nobody talking the same about what's happened in Ukraine, the amount of innocent people in the Ukraine who've been murdered, and in Russia, for that matter? That's what happens, sadly, in wars. Why has nobody got upset about that? Why is it only about Gaza?
Well, in 2 months, there's been probably 20 to 30 times the amount of civilians killed in Gaza than were killed in Ukraine in 2 years of warfare. So I think
that's not true, is it? That's not true, is it? Like, your genocide point isn't true. Like, probably everything you say is just like, I bet you say Israel have carpet bombed Gaza, don't you, as well? And I bet you say it's just, you know, every strike has gone through a lawyer. So it's all legally, it's all been checked with lawyers. There's no war crimes being committed from the IDF, and that will be settled after.
Is it? There's no war crimes being committed by the IDF?
That's right, yeah. So you agree?
So you think that bombing innocent children is not a war crime?
Well, you need to go and look into international law, because, you know, you can, a military target can have, they use innocent civilians as shields.
Can I just get some facts?
Well, they're not. On your show last week, you both said that you agree with some international law, but not all international law when you're talking to a Palestinian. So
I never said
when it comes to what's happening in Gaza, you have thousands of innocent individuals that are being slaughtered that have nothing to do with Hamas. Yeah. These people are living in their homes, they're in hospitals, they're in churches, and they're being bombed.
With Hamas underneath them and missiles stored with them and tunnels underneath them.
There's no evidence of that.
Of course, there's loads of evidence. No one believes what you're saying, all the crap you're spouting.
Please, or I'll have to remove you. There is no evidence on either side. What is going on is a propaganda war.
Well, there is evidence.
Now, you've dedicated... Just a minute. You've dedicated... apparently, you got a journalist award, and you've dedicated it to 70 dead Palestinian journalists. Can you name 2 or 3 of them?
Yeah, I actually posted a photo of all their names on my Twitter account yesterday. And just since the Israeli bombing campaign began again after the end of the ceasefire,
can you name me one or two of them?
2 days ago,
can you name me one or two of them?
There were 2 more Palestinian journalists that were killed.
Can you name me one or two of them?
Can you name any of the Israelis?
I can name you a couple of... What about the journalists that actually went on the attack? That actually went on the Hamas attack and filmed it? What about those ones? Now, what about those ones? Answer that one.
Let him ask the question, or I'll have to remove you. I know you get upset about this. Right.
I'm just pointing out that
the Israeli civilians killed on October 7th?
Yeah, they went out on their journalists did. Who worked for CNN.
Did you hear my question?
No, I didn't know.
Well, will you shut up for
What's your question?
Can you name any of the Israeli civilians killed on October 7th?
No, but I'm not claiming to be able to.
So why are you getting mad at me when I can post the photos of the journalists
to be
that have been
able
killed?
to do it? Why don't you
I'm sure journalists have been killed anyway. In a war, journalists do get killed. Of course they would be killed.
What are your thoughts?
The problem with this war is that there's indiscriminate targeting of women.
No, it's not true. Everything goes through a lawyer.
Civilians.
Every missile strike goes through legal to see if they can do it. If there's too many civilians and one missile, they won't do it.
What would America do? Let's just ask this question. What would America do if an enemy walked into an American town or a village and murdered every man, woman and child in that village? What would America's response be?
That's a good question. I would pose the question to the Israeli military. Why did their own Apache attack helicopters and Israeli tanks kill Israeli civilians on October 7th? I think that's a horrific war crime.
I haven't heard about that one. Didn't you just have you made that up? And if it would have happened, it would have been an accident. They wouldn't want to do it on purpose.
Israeli media, Haaretz, admitted that in their report on the events of October 7th.
It's very possible that they've killed their own. They wouldn't be doing it on purpose, though. That is very possible when there's thousands of terrorists over your border.
I want to find out your thoughts about Hamas. Do you agree that they are a terrorist bunch of scumbags or not?
Do you agree that the Israeli military are a bunch of terrorist scumbags?
I'll answer your question. I'll answer
your question when you answer my question. Is the Israeli military a bunch of terrorist scumbags?
Do they cut babies out of wombs and gang rape women and cut babies' heads off? No, they don't, do they? For that matter,
if you're going to call out the Hamas fighters for being terrorists, you may as well call out your own government for their war crimes under the government of Tony Blair for what they did in Iraq. Will you condemn Tony Blair as a terrorist war criminal?
We have done that in the past. We're not going back. We could go back to the Second World War. And we could actually talk about the amount of innocent people killed during the Second World War, millions. You seem very pro-Russian as well when I read about you. Why are you so pro-Russian when they've invaded a sovereign nation like Ukraine?
You worked for Russia Today, didn't you?
Me?
No.
Well, I don't work for Russia Today, so I don't know what you're talking about. You have misinformation. But when it comes to the Russian military, they're liberating Ukrainians from the Nazi rule. And you say that Ukraine is a sovereign government. Their government hasn't been sovereign since it was couped in a U.S.-backed coup in 2014. Well, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Are you okay? I'm really worried about your take on the news. I'm just worried how you got to this idea that you want to be alien everybody else says. You won't answer any questions. I asked you an easy question. I said, are Hamas a terrorist organisation? And you said, well, I'll answer that after you. Well, you actually said in an American accent.
Can you answer that question, or are you just going to flannel around?
It's going to flannel around.
I asked a very simple question to you.
You're just going to flannel around.
Not to answer it either.
That's all right, you've answered it.
Is the Israeli military a terrorist organisation?
Well, of course they're not. They're a military. They follow the law, military law. Whereas Hamas, when they cut people's heads off and gang rape women and kill them...
And film it and put it out online.
Can you not see the difference?
Well, I've seen no videos of Hamas.
Well, you want to get online? There's plenty of them.
You got to let me answer a question here. You got to let me answer.
Can you?
Well, you start with a load of BS, don't you?
Listen, let's just start with a question I asked. Are you prepared to admit that Hamas are terrorists?
No, I'm not prepared to admit that at all. Just like you're not prepared to admit that Israel's a terrorist organization.
Yeah, but you're wrong.
And you asked the question.
Yeah.
Wait. You asked the question. How did I arrive at the conclusions I've drawn? Well, I'm not funded by Big Pharma. I'm not funded by the weapons manufacturers like the mainstream media are. So that's why an average citizen can look at what's happening and actually call balls and strikes about this genocide on the people of Gaza.
Where the population's gone up threefold in the last 15 years. Not very good genocide, is it?
You see, you are just talking. I can say whatever I want here. I can talk, and I've looked into it. I've spoken to people. We've talked about this. And if it wasn't for the scumbags of Hamas continually rocketing Israel, continually carrying out terrorist attacks on innocent people, then going into a village and killing every single person there, not to mention their pets.
Well, yeah.
You know,
well, yeah.
If you won't call these sort of people terrorists, I mean, what's going through your mind?
You support their action, then?
What's going through your mind? Your show's called Unleashed, but you're leashed like a dog to the Zionists and repeating all their propaganda as they slaughter 16,000
you talk absolute bollocks, to use an English word.
You're spineless. I don't know how you sleep at night condoning this genocide. It's actually disgusting.
Very well, actually.
If they wanted to commit genocide, they could have done it, couldn't they, Israel? They have the weaponry. It's only 25, whatever. They could do it. They don't even need conventional weapons. They could have done it, but they don't, do they?
Well, if you considered what happened on October 7th a genocide, which
attempted genocide, it wasn't a genocide. Obviously, they would have done it if they could, but it was that they tried it, didn't they?
You got to let me finish talking.
Well, you asked the question.
On your show 6 days ago, you called what Hamas did an attempted genocide on the people of Israel. If that's an attempted genocide, then what Israel's doing, slaughtering 16,000 people, is 100% a genocide.
They would have killed everyone in Israel if they could have, wouldn't they? They were killing everyone.
The only problem with that is they were taking hostages.
Yeah.
Israel
they killed them or took them
more
hostage.
Civilians of their own. They killed far more Israeli civilians than Hamas killed on October 7th, and the facts are beginning to show that.
You know, you're talking rubbish because you're not backing it up, okay, and you're slipping out of it. Now, was it last week on Twitter that you asked people to help defeat the Zionist lies?
Yeah, unlike the mainstream media puppets like you all, I don't have to rely on...
You can insult me as much as you like. I've had it for 50 years. It really over my head.
I actually have average citizens that support my work, but you regurgitate lies about 40 beheaded babies. You regurgitate lies about a terrorist list in the bottom of the hospital.
Happened. What did Hamas do on October the 7th when they broke...
Every single Israeli Zionist
What did they do when they broke through the border on October the 7th?
Let him answer.
Did they go and have a game of golf then? What did they do on October the 7th when they broke through the border?
Well, they sought to capture hostages so they could free thousands of political prisoners that are held in Israeli prisons.
Did they kill anyone?
Which we're now actually seeing take place, and they're freed. These Palestinians
Did they not kill anyone?
Hang on. You have said, right? You've said that on October the 7th, only 900 people were killed. By Hamas. You said most of them were soldiers. Is that all right then? That they went in and they killed 900 people?
I didn't say that Hamas killed 900 civilians. I said that I made a point,
soldiers.
actually.
I just said soldiers.
You got to let me finish. Israel initially said that 2,000 civilians died. Then they said it was 1,400. Then they said it was 1,200. Then they posted the names of those civilians on their own Twitter account, half of whom were military personnel. Now we're learning from Israeli media Haaretz that actually Israeli helicopters and tanks killed a lot of those civilians. So I don't think we'll ever really know how many civilians were killed. Do you think Hamas should be wiped off the face of the earth?
I think Hamas should...
They're on the way. It's on the way.
Do you think the Israeli military...
No, hang on. I don't think anybody should be wiped off.
Those people that did that should be wiped off the earth.
They should be locked up.
No, they should be wiped off the earth.
All right,
Do you think that the Israeli military should be wiped off the face of the earth?